Hey guys, welcome back to Deep Dive. We're back for another exciting episode this week because it's about something we all love here in Singapore. We're talking...
So we are talking
hawker
about
food.
hawker food. Yes, exactly. Okay, Steve, what's your favorite hawker meal?
Hawker food. I love my Hokkien mee, my char kway teow. I also like carrot cake. I also like my usual bak chor mee, meepok, but then there's also nasi goreng and it just
My
prata.
goodness,
It just depends on what I'm
So
in
you
the mood
don't have
for.
a favorite.
No, I'm a very simple man. I have many favorites.
That's not a simple man. So I was at Adam Road Hawker
Yeah.
Centre, and so I wasn't paying attention to the menu on the board, and then I ordered the bowl, and she said, "Let me tell you that this is $15."
Oh,
and
you're
then
like-
I realized, whoops, okay, it's the big prawn.
It's the big prawns.
With the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I told her, okay, no. I just want the regular stuff, which is about $7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a bit taken aback by the $15, I have to say.
Okay.
But
I guess
you were
depending on
saying-
the ingredients, I kind of know if I go late, he's going to have run out of the small prawns.
Okay.
So I kind of expect
Depends on
that.
how much you want prawn mee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I mean, well, if you want prawn mee, then more prawn better, right?
But the reverse is also true. I mean, where I live, which is near the Chong Pang Food Center, like a plate of chwee kueh,
Yeah.
maybe less than $2. $2
For
you
like
can
'five
get.
pieces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's
'Cause
something
it's
I
all
actually
carbs.
feel bad to
You feel bad? Oh.
that it's so cheap.
I just had a $1.80 ice kacang yesterday.
My goodness.
I was pleasantly surprised because I was like, wow, this is great, But then I thought to myself, actually, it's pretty much just ice and syrup. So that's why. But anyhow, so clearly, the business of hawker food is not as simple as it seems. We all have our own favorites, our own versions. And that's what we want to get into today. Is the pressure to keep hawker food prices low fair to people, especially people who are doing this for a living?
Exactly.
The government announced that the number of coffee shops offering budget meals will actually be increased to about 330 businesses, and that's to help keep food affordable for everyone, right? So you can get food from as little as $3.50, drinks at $1.20. You can even use your CDC vouchers. So it all sounds pretty good. Yeah, and it sounds nice to the customers. But some have criticized it. We had Edward Ng, who wrote into the Straits Times. He said, pressure on hawkers to offer budget meals is deeply unfair. If they want to and are able to, then that's great. Coffee shops are run by private sector businesses. Some are publicly listed and they have shareholders, duty to shareholders, so they have to maximize profit. So hawkers operating under them are obligated to pay rents, to make a profit. So why do we expect these hawkers to offer these special prices just, and they get a hit in their own income in that sense? What do you think, Fabian? Do you agree with that?
I think after all, right, we are still running a business, so I do agree to a certain extent. Yeah, but you have to understand that there are different kind of customers. Like for us, right, we do our branding in a certain way. Like we have our signature items and the normal menu items, right? So customer come to us, right? They don't just buy the budget meals.
Give us some indication. How many budget meals do you sell in a day? Roughly what? 10% of them, or even less?
I think less than 20%.
Less than 20%.
Yeah.
Okay, and even if there wasn't this government mandating that you have to have these budget meals, do you think you would have them?
I think it's a challenge.
As a businessman, he would just charge as, right?
Right.
Yeah, why would he give less?
Because honestly, right, by
Yeah.
selling at 350, this kind of price point, right, you are just covering. You are not actually, there is no profitability in it.
Yeah. Kay, what do you think about this mandatory thing and some criticism around that it's unfair for the hawkers to bear the burden?
For hawker food itself, there's this concept of it having to be cheap and affordable and people being able to actually get a meal that is fulfilling with that kind of price point. So that kind of social expectation of this meal being affordable, perhaps priced at $3.50 or something that is acceptable to society, is something that sounds very good in concept. But again, we have to talk about the costs and the overheads that come to produce this plate of chicken rice or prawn mee. So that is something that we really cannot run away from, because people are running businesses here. They have to be sustainable, and you can't expect them to foot all the costs and then sell it at a loss.
Like Fabian says, right?
Yeah.
he knows his customers. He knows the regulars, and he knows that, okay, this family or this auntie or this uncle maybe lives alone and doesn't have an income. So on his own, he would probably give them a discount anyway. Or I've seen hawkers actually do that. But by having a mandatory budget meal that you must have it, then you might also get people who are cheapskates and just go for that too, right?
Nobody can block a consumer from selecting what they want to buy, right?
But what we can do from our end is to reduce the quantity.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's usually maybe more rice, there's less fish, or there's
No
there's no
vegetables.
meat, there's just some veg. I mean, what's in
And
it.
then people complain, right? So that's the other thing. They said, hey, how come your budget meal is so terrible?
But I think people nowadays are very appreciative of what we do for them also. I think
Oh, really?
most of them are quite understanding towards this.
Okay.
Yeah, like
So,
they understand like by paying $3.50, they're going to get this portion.
but our point is, do you need to mandate something like that? Can't we just let it work itself? Because the hawkers know who are the ones who really need, and generally people are quite good in caring for each other. Do we have to force this cheaper meal into the menu?
If you do not mandate something and you allow people to set the price freely, there can be people who, feel like they shouldn't be asking for less.
Right.
And they don't want to act like they are needy. So they may end up skipping a meal or, just going for something that's even less healthy, like maybe just asking for rice or just the meat.
Okay, so that's a good point,
Okay.
right? If it's there, I will not be shy about using it.
Yeah.
But if it's not there, I will be shy about asking for less. Let me ask you, Fabian, about hawkers raising prices, right? This always gets people riled up, right? So in a Today online article, they quoted a hawker, Jason, who sells sliced fish soup in a stall in Pasir Ris, okay? And he said he was scolded by a customer because he was charging $6 a bowl.
Okay.
And it went up, obviously, from...
Sounded a bit fishy to the customer.
So the customer was like, hey, GST only went up 1%. How come you increased even more than that?
See?
Actually, but now
Sounded fishy.
GST is 2% more, right? It's already 9.
Yeah, but actually it's actually a ripple effect. Like it's not just that 1%.
Exactly.
That 1% from suppliers, from this and that, it actually builds up. Like from your rent,
Yeah.
there's also GST on that.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of all these hidden costs that people don't actually see.
Yeah, exactly, right? So he's not just dealing with the GST. He has to pay his suppliers, he has to pay more.
Workers.
His workers,
Yeah.
his, I guess, the landlord. But, some people say this, right? They said, why is it that Singaporeans are happy to pay $20 for avocado on toast, but then quibble about Hokkien mee, which is $8? Do you think that's fair?
I think it's all about perspective. Like if I'm coming into a hawker center,
Yep.
the mindset is already ingrown in me. Like oh, I'm gonna pay like this is the amount that I'm maximum
Yeah,
I'm gonna
because
pay.
no aircon.
Yeah.
So imagine this, if the guy sold avocado on toast in a hawker center for $12.
No, he's not going to make money, right?
I don't know, would he?
Unless
I don't
his
think so.
avocado is very
Yeah.
special. lah.
Yeah, I don't know, because if you really like the food, you want to find the best deal available. But if you are going for the experience, then obviously the avocado toast in a hawker center, where the avocado is a bit melting already because it's so hot, then not quite the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an expectation thing, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
people expect that if I go to a hawker center, I
Yeah.
should not pay above a certain amount.
And I would want to find my local food, not like avocado.
No, but you see, my point is the hawker is in a profession just as important as the chef, right? I mean, and that is a culture, that is food that we love, that we care about. Why wouldn't we pay more to protect, the livelihoods of this?
The whole label of hawker food comes with the cheap
Yeah.
thing as well. So people emotionally attach themselves to this cheap label.
Right.
So
Very proud of it.
But is
Yes.
it too cheap? So I think it should be affordable or cheaper, definitely, than outside food. But over the years, if you look back, I mean, if you're paying $3, $4 for a bowl of noodles, and 10 years ago, and you're still paying the same price today,
Something's
doesn't
wrong,
make
right?
sense, right?
No, Steve, you were telling me, right, for a Talking Point episode, you were working in a prawn mee
Yeah,
stall,
I
right?
it was about hawker food, and I joined the guy for a day from like 5 a.m. in the morning to 9 p.m. at night. it is super hard work.
And you were
know?
peeling all those prawns.
Peeling prawns, and when you're selling it for $3.50, you're like, you feel okay.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, right? It's not an easy job.
But I mean, the point is, there is a lot of hard work going into it, and right now, for a long time, we haven't been rewarding our hawkers, which is why many of them leave the profession, and then we complain, why aren't people doing hawker food?
Okay, but we can't talk about hawker food without talking about the biggest players, which are the landlords. Okay,
Yeah.
so in order to talk about this, we need to sort of set the stage for some of our listeners who may not really know how the business of hawkering is done in Singapore. It's a bit complicated. So Singapore has about 120 hawker centres,
Yeah.
776 coffee shops, right? And NEA, National Environment Agency, manages hawker centres, yeah?
Correct. That's right.
Okay, so they control the rent.
Correct.
And they're generally quite affordable. Anything from subsidized would be a few $100s all the way to maybe about $5,000.
So I have a friend who's actually running a hawker store right now. So the store was actually kept by his generations.
Oh, wow.
So he's only paying like about $600 rent due date.
So my question to you is is it very complicated? All these different models of, some private landlords that can jack up the price. When they do a renovation, they tell you, you know what, Fabian? You have to pay me now 30% more.
Yeah, I think it's a very common industry practice. Like, if you're gonna provide a new space with, you have like new environment, renovations, nicely done, LEDs and everything, right? You're gonna expect your tenants to pay more because I'm giving you this environment, and we are gonna be putting in more crowd.
Okay.
So prices of rent hikes will actually just go up.
So maybe explain to us, maybe you may not want to go into the actual numbers, but explain to us, how does it work? Like how does a landlord come to you and say, okay, I'm going to increase rent?
So it can happen in two scenarios. One, which is when your lease is up, and then they will renegotiate with you because there can be other players that want to come in, want to take over this spot. So they could be offering a higher rent.
Oh.
So
That one
like
would be
like
a-
any
yeah.
business,
an
yeah.
a wall,
So as a
auction wall for the
as a landlord, I will definitely give it to the one who offers higher.
Yeah.
correct.
So the second option, which is like what we mentioned earlier about renovations. Yeah. So after renovations, definitely.
No, but before they renovate, do they tell you, okay, after renovation, you're going to be paying $15,000
Yeah,
now?
they do offer it to you. They'll be telling you, they'll give you a tenancy agreement,
Right.
and it's either whether you want to take it or not. So the option is there. Like
Okay.
either you take it or I'll just let it out.
Okay. So if I run a Thai fan store, let's say, at one of these really, huge hotspot coffee shops, would I pay as much as, I don't know, $18,000 a month?
It's highly possible because Cai Fan stores are usually bigger in terms of like the square
Yes.
meters and everything.
Yeah.
So they're actually the anchor tenants.
I mean, where are you going to display your 30 different dishes? You need lots of space, right?
And the lights.
I've been there, done
and
that too. So I also cooked Thai fan before.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
But
Yeah.
maybe help us understand, Fabian. So give us a sense from the stalls in the coffee shop. The rental will range from as little as what? It could be 3,000, 5,000, right up to...
I think current market, right, you're looking at about 5 up to, let's say, Cai Fan store, maybe 20-ish. It's also possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Ultimately, it depends on the location.
Right. But okay, wow. So between 5,000 to 20,000 per month, just
Yeah.
for rental alone, not counting all the other additional
Yeah.
utilities and that kind of cost.
Is there a situation where the landlord says, okay, I take a cut? So, for example, if your stall is like some bib gourmand, like there's non-stop queues
Wow.
and, those kinds of...
Commission based.
So can they say, you know what, I'm going to take a portion of your...
Profit
I
sharing.
think it all depends on the tenancy
Agreement.
agreement. Yeah, correct. So when you enter the coffee shop, there's this agreement which you both have to discuss on. Yeah, so I think everything is up for discussion. Yeah.
But this model does exist, right? This
Yeah,
profit
it
sharing
does,
model.
it does.
So rent is one thing. You were telling us earlier that you also have to pay for things like washing fee, I don't know,
there
gas.
is like paid collections, ORA.
What's ORA?
ORA is like for using the space on the outside. Like in coffee shop, right?
Yeah.
There's like internal space and there's this exterior space. So exterior
Oh.
space, you have to
Oh,
pay
where
to
you
HDB.
put the sauces and the...
No, maybe
it? No?
tables.
Okay, basically you're paying for extra space.
Yeah,
to
extra
use.
space, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then there is like the refuse, like the rubbish collection and all. Some places they offer you like plate cleaning, which they wash your bowls for you.
Ah,
Yeah, so
okay.
you pay them for that. Yeah.
Right. So all of this adds up, right?
Yeah, all adds up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
so this is why you need to charge, a little bit more, for your bowl, I guess.
I think it's fairly reasonable if I think ultimately at the end of the day we still have to run a business.
Right.
So what is a reasonable price? That's kind of what we're asking. Right? We
No,
we said yes, it should be affordable.
Yeah.
But right now, if I ask you what's for a bowl of prawn noodles, for example, what's the price you don't mind paying on a regular basis?
I suppose $8 for
Okay.
for prawn noodles.
Kiki, what is your study
So
discovered?
we didn't really get into the calculations, but then we did talk to some of the hawkers who were willing to have a conversation with us. And the topic of rent kept coming up, as well as utilities. So these are the two main overhead costs that they keep talking about when they say that, I don't want to increase price, but then I have no choice because all these things are adding up and I cannot sustain selling it at $2 anymore.
Of course.
So it's really things like that. And they all, I mean, the people who are willing to talk to us, at least, they all sound like, they feel very bad about increasing their prices. They're like, is it okay? Am I like, still not the highest cost?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they have this kind of anxiety or some sort of like feeling bad for their customers for charging more now.
Very relatable. I understand.
You really do?
Yeah, I really do. Yeah. You've been having this for 2 years at $4.50, and then now I have to raise it to $5. And it's not that I wanted
That's
to
a
do
50
it.
cents
You know?
increase.
Yeah.
It's not
But
like
do people get very upset by this 50?
I think some people are more
increase?
price sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are different kind of people. Like some they are more understanding, and some more price sensitive. Yeah.
So you think that people who are struggling are more price sensitive? Like, for example, they actually are very conscious about their spending, they might.
Actually, no. I think it's the people who are just, I don't know, entitled, who feel like hawker food should be this price.
Forever.
I can afford to pay $8, but I jolly well want to pay $4.50.
Actually, speaking about price, right? Sometimes you're paying like a higher quality ingredient, like instead of like there are different kind of prawns,
Yes,
like the
of
grades.
course.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it actually plays a part also.
No, I mean, we look at your bak chor mee stores. There are many of them who their starting price is $7, $8, right? They offer better ingredients,
Yeah.
and they still have long queues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is demand for that, but you don't go to that shop expecting to buy a $3 bowl of noodles,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I understand the case for it, lah. I mean, to keep it low, for people who may not be able to afford it. But I'm just not sure how many of those people there are in a general population. I feel like most of us, based on my observation anyway, we should be able to afford a $5 bowl of noodles.
There are lots of calculations about what people can afford and how much, right? So
Yeah.
if we don't look into that, I think the bigger question here would be, if we are going to have 350 budget meals, who is paying for this subsidized cost? Because it's not going to foot the bill for the hawkers.
Yeah.
And so who is the one who should, subsidize that kind of cost that comes with providing a cheaper meal for people who need it?
Fabian, actually, does it really hurt your pocket much? Because if there are less than 20% people tapping on this budget
But
price,
I'll just give an example. For example, right, like 100 people comes to your store, patronize
Yeah.
your store one day, right? You're gonna make $350 in revenue. Whereas if you compare, let's say, the normal ones, you're gonna pay back about $450, right?
Yeah.
So that's $100, and I think it's very significant.
Yes.
Because $100, I can technically pay off one worker for a day. Yeah, but I'm actually selling the same amount of noodles.
right?
What do you think should be an ideal situation? Should the government, or NEA in this case, just handle hawker food across the board? Or is that interfering in business too much?
I think it's almost impossible for them to do that now.
You were saying for new...
New hawker
Yeah,
centers
for all
that open.
now,
New
new
hawker
estates are all HDB owned.
Okay.
So basically, they lease it out to these operators.
That's great, right?
Yeah.
So they can control the
Yeah.
prices?
Oh, but they lease it out to
Correct.
operators.
So maybe
who-
it's like a food fair group.
or more the sense that there are certain guidelines, and it's a certain type of working model where
Yes.
the motive is a bit different. It's not purely
it's
profit
not
driven.
purely profit,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But after leasing out to these operators, they still lease out at their own rates. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like for example, I'm gonna lease it to you at $50,000. So they're gonna like have 10 stores, maybe like take back a revenue of 100K, something like that.
Oh,
So it's
I
like
see.
not controlled in a way. Yeah.
Also, they still sublet it and
yeah,
they may
something like that,
still.
correct, yeah.
But it's a different thing to actually sell it to, like some, I don't know, Tauke, right? Who buys it for $45 million and then he definitely
Yeah,
has to
yeah,
charge you
yeah.
$20,000 a month. And you know what I mean?
It's a property game actually.
I think this is a very complicated business, and it's also very emotional. A lot of people have
Yes.
a lot of burning comments about these
Hey,
topics.
people queue up, okay?
Yeah.
For that
Yeah, and
noodle.
people get riled up with just 10 cents increase sometimes. It does different things for different people,
Yes,
basically.
yeah,
but
of
I think hawker food is an establishment for Singaporeans, and I think it should stay in some form or another. But hopefully we all have a sustainable kind of concept about its prices lah.
Yeah.
I know, I have an idea. The next time you want to raise prices, you do it in tandem with the next batch of CDC vouchers. Then you won't feel it as much, right?
Yeah, Fabian, what do you think?
I would say like managing food prices has always been one of our greatest challenges. But for us, we will try to strategize our business in a way that we streamline our operations,
Yep.
and we work very closely with our suppliers, so they help us a lot. Like if we plan for expansion, right, we buy in volume, so definitely you have the negotiating powers with the suppliers. So by doing that, we can continuously help our local community, like with maintaining these affordable food prices. Yeah,
Okay, but of course, if you could earn more, you would, right? That's
definitely. Yeah.
in the old days when we were in like staying in HDB flats, living in HDB flats. Always the guy with the Mercedes was the chicken rice seller.
Oh,
Yeah,
The profit margin for chicken is actually very high.
chicken rice
really?
because it's only chicken and rice.
Maybe the rice is cheap, right? The other way is just cook at home more. It doesn't make sense now, but if the fact that eating out is cheaper than sometimes cooking at home still doesn't logically make sense to me sometimes.
But
Right.
eating out is definitely more unhealthy in my view. Yeah.
All right, thanks guys, and thanks to all of you who have been joining us, listening in. We all have favorite hawker food. Let us know what you think about this, whether you're willing to pay more for your hawker food to help keep the whole hawker, what's the word?
Culture.
Hawker culture alive. That's right.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that's it for Deep Dive this week. Thanks to the team, Junaini Johari, Tiffany Ang, Joanne Chan, and Saya Win. Our video editor is Hanida Amin, and sound mixing is by Ken Delbridge.
See you next week.
Bye for now.